Hey everyone, it's ENDYMION, and today I got some great news alongside some really dumb news as well. Consider this whole video one big cocktail of stories that kind of just span a lot of different topics. From Sweet Baby Inc. getting blacklisted by companies, Helldivers 2 making a comeback story, Assassin's Creed getting called out for a beyond ridiculous reason that is so dumb that it's incredible, and another disaster in the making game telling base players to kick rocks, and a Sweet Baby presentation that wants to erase white men from power entirely. Yeah, so let's get into it. Firstly, Sweet Baby Inc., you know who they are already. I don't need to explain that to you. They have on their website, though, a list of publishers that they've worked for as seen on screen here. It's all sorts of publishers. You've probably bought a game or two from one of these places in the past. You can also trace many of these companies' worst performing games directly to the games that push similar concepts that SBI is all about. What is interesting is that players have noticed on Sweet Baby Inc.'s website right now that one of these publishers is mysteriously missing, which is actually Square Enix. This has led to many wondering if Square Enix has blacklisted the company completely. Or could it be that this removal is simply being done so that Sweet Baby can work in secret with the publisher? I personally believe that it's the first one. I don't think hiding Sweet Baby is going to do anything that ends up being good for any publisher when it comes to goodwill or news with fans. And based on the various games I've played this year from Square Enix already, like replaying Octopath Traveler, or how I'm currently knees deep into Visions of Mana, which I'm loving by the way, it's an awesome game, I wager if Square Enix is somewhat returning to form hopefully. We should also remember that Final Fantasy XVI just came to PC and players seem to be loving it. And that game is the antithesis of what Sweet Baby stands for. It's a game that is full of white medieval era people that are living in a war-torn world ripped apart by Attack on Titan summons from the franchise's history. Personally, I don't think Square Enix wants anything to do with Sweet Baby, due to how their name being attached to anything will cause a loss of sales and player retention. Because if Square Enix was working with them still, legally Sweet Baby would be able to portray that they've worked with them in the past. This admission of a connection between companies can only mean, to me anyway, that Square Enix is washing their hands and moving forward. None of Square's games this year that I can think of anyway have been identity politically driven. They do also have Romancing Saga 2 Remake coming later this year, but I strongly doubt that'll be Sweet Baby Infected. I could be wrong, but I do doubt it. However, I do have to mention the whole Dragon Quest remake thing with the skins being censored. That could be something, but I'll wait for more information to come out on that until I report on it. Remember also that this isn't the only time, since previously I reported on how even ex-Sweet Baby consultants are having trouble finding work because devs and publishers that read that disgraced name on a resume now, and then they immediately just throw the application into the trash. I think we can all confidently say that the ongoing Gamergate 2 situation has indeed turned Sweet Baby Inc.'s name into a disgraceful term that you do not want to be associated with. It's amazing how the hubris of these DEI consultants was so blatant, they really thought that they could siphon the funds and souls of gaming for the rest of time. Can you actually imagine if Sweet Baby were to exist in say 10 or 20 years? We would be having gaming crash after gaming crash if that were to happen. They've destroyed enough already. I mean, you may know also how dire things are because Rocksteady, which made the Batman Arkham trilogy, is now allegedly making another Batman game. Of course, this Rocksteady is only the studio in name, since all the key talent already left prior to Suicide Squad and are now working at a new studio on a new AAA action game. But I would wager this Sweet Baby aligned company is likely being given one final chance before Warner Bros. Just dismantles them and then casts them into the Shadow Realm. I know some people are very happy about this alleged news, a new Rocksteady Batman game. Oh wow. But remember that this is the Suicide Squad led team, not really the Arkham one. So the likelihood is that they'll woo you in with Batman on the cover, but Batman will be implemented into the game as well in, well, not very nice ways to put it lightly. Because if you don't know, there's other characters, for example, like Batwoman, whose real name is Kate Kane. She's the cousin of Bruce Wayne. Also, she's a lesbian, which to me anyway, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if Batwoman ends up becoming playable in this new Rocksteady game. And I would also wager that she will be the actual real main character over Batman as well. And since they know that you won't buy a game if it's called Batwoman on the cover, they'll likely market it as a true Batman Arkham sequel, and then lie to you the same way Naughty Dog did with Last of Us 2 when they said that Joel was in scenes which he clearly wasn't in. It's the classic bait and switch. I mean, He-Man did it, Ant-Man did it, Alan Wake 2 did it, and so did Spider-Man with Miles Over Peter and Spider-Man 2. I would be genuinely shocked if Rocksteady announced a new Batman Arkham game and it's an actual sequel where there's no identity politics or Batwoman present and it's really just about Batman. But I sincerely doubt that'll happen because Batman is, of course, a rich straight white man, and that is literal violence because something politics. So I really doubt it. There's 3 avenues for Rocksteady here. One is that they make a true Batman sequel, which, let's be real, that's the least likely of these happening considering who Rocksteady is now. 2 is they do a dumb game where Batman is missing or something, and Batwoman is the new hero trying to find or save Bruce Wayne to bring him back. It will of course be marketed as a Batman game, but it really won't be. If they do this, they will die and the studio will close down. Or 3, and this is the one I would probably want to see the most, if they really don't want to do Bruce Wayne, then they should just do a Batman Beyond game. I'm talking future Gotham, Terry McGinnis is the main character, bring all the cool villains that he has in that era, and have an older Bruce Wayne. A Batman Beyond Arkham game would go surprisingly hard, but again, I don't personally think that current Rocksteady could do it any justice. I mean, just look at how they portrayed the women in Suicide Squad. They look like gender blobs more than anything else. Like Mrs. Freeze? My god, dude. So I don't really have hope for this game, but what happened to Rocksteady's reputation and pedigree is a key example of why other studios are clearly rejecting and blacklisting Sweet Baby from their games. Rocksteady used to be a premier studio, a golden goose if you will, that could do no wrong. And then third wave feminism ruined them like it does everything else, and then for the consultants who can't find work after lying in bed with Sweet Baby, I would say, well, you should probably erase your employment history from that place and just act like you never worked there before. It's the only reasonable way that you'll land a job in the future, because having Sweet Baby on your resume now is like admitting that you used to sell drugs and have a criminal record, yet you're applying to work in criminal justice or with kids. Probably not a good idea, but hey, I'm sure there's still some studios out there who still want to work with Sweet Baby Inc. Because like always, there's going to be morons out here who think they're going to be the ones to break the mold, and they're going to be the ones that'll prove everyone wrong and the chuds when it comes to wokeness and gaming. It's a bold strategy, we'll see if it works out for them, but I really doubt it. For every maybe one possible woke win, there will always be dozens of carcasses surrounding it that tried the exact same thing. I do believe that if Square Enix allegedly is disowning Sweet Baby, that's a step in the very right direction. And if Rocksteady wants to still exist, they gotta push their delusions to the side and get back to making fun video games again. Or they can keep making the slop if they want to, but if they do that, well, rip-a-roni to Rocksteady, I guess. But some games are turning things around, like Helldivers 2. If you don't remember, Arrowhead, which makes the game, said that they had a 60-day plan in place to bring the game back to its roots. This included a bunch of buffs and those kinds of things that they did to the game anyway, as seen on Reddit, which has been getting shared all over the place. Helldivers 2's latest update that made everything better has surged the player count to over 100,000 players again, which is great for the game considering that they lost like 90% of their player base like 2 months ago. This doesn't mean that Helldivers 2 is saved or anything, but at the least, it shows that the game can and could return to some semblance of prosperity again. IMDb shared FandomWire's article on this, and within FandomWire's article, they asked the question if Sony's efforts to restore Helldivers 2 could spill over to other things like Concord. And the likely answer is no, considering Concord at a fundamental level is ruined by its terrible character designs and bland gameplay. Helldivers 2, at its peak, was some of the best co-op multiplayer I've played in years. And the designs, of course, are just armored soldiers, plus on a fundamental level. How Helldivers is structured and played is objectively far more compelling and unique than, say, Concord could ever hope to be. So while Helldivers 2 is having a surge of players right now, will it last? I guess we'll see, but it seems like Arrowhead's latest efforts have, at the very least, brought some players back into the fold. But Concord is dead, guys. I don't think there's any hope for that game. Better to just move on there. What is crazy, though, is that another woke-infested game is having a lot of trouble, which is Assassin's Creed Shadows. From Insider Gaming, journalist Tom Henderson reports that Ubisoft has cancelled all their press coverage and interviews for Shadows at the Tokyo Game Show suddenly out of nowhere. As Insider Gaming says, earlier today Ubisoft cancelled its online appearance at the Tokyo Game Show due to various circumstances. However, Insider Gaming has learned that Ubisoft has also cancelled its press previews of Assassin's Creed Shadows. According to various sources, the Assassin's Creed Shadows press previews are rescheduled to take place next week, and the embargo date for the previews would be announced then. At the time of writing, Assassin's Creed Shadows is still scheduled to release on November 12, 2024. However, the recent announcements may suggest that the game might be delayed. Yep, you heard that right. Shadows might not even come out this year after all. You're probably wondering why, but if I had to guess, it's because Ubisoft is, well, they're currently reeling in losses unlike any other this year. Star Wars Outlaws is tanked, X-Defiant is bombing, and nothing they've really released is doing well this year. And with the ongoing controversy with Shadows, which doesn't seem to have really high pre-order counts either, Ubisoft is likely delaying it in order to fix the game somehow to hopefully get more people to buy it. But I should also show you that recently Ubisoft unveiled a new collector product from Q-Lectors. It's a figurine combo that shows Yasuke and Naoe, the two heroes of Shadows, with Naoe perched on a broken torii gate, which is... that's not good at all. Let me tell you why. A Japanese user named Shin, they took to social media and said this: "Please spread the word. Assassin's Creed Shadows figures from Ubisoft, a famous Japanese hate and criminal company. A figurine of a destroyed torii gate has been released, which is believed to be based on the one-leg torii gate that was destroyed in the Nagasaki atomic bombing. I have never seen a one-legged torii other than the one destroyed by the American atomic bomb in Nagasaki." Yeah, as if all the other things weren't bad enough for Ubisoft in not knowing how, seasons work in Japan, or how to properly convey a samurai storing their katanas, or, I don't know, having rap music in a game that's set centuries before such music even existed, not to mention the ongoing controversy that Yasuke was never a samurai to begin with. Now they're taking something that happened less than 100 years ago, and they're using it as a prop for their collectible item that is set hundreds of years prior to the nuclear bombing of Japan. This is like the most tone-deaf moronic mistake they've made yet, and let's not forget that Ubisoft has also got the kanji wrong on their collector's edition box as well. Apparently they used AI, and they also apparently don't know how seating works in shogunates, and didn't even use the right flooring or doors in the CGI debut trailer either. Like, this whole game is just a mess. Its messaging is so poorly conceived, and for Ubisoft to pull out of Tokyo Game Show, that's crazy, dude. They're literally showing their woke DEI propaganda game in the country it's based on that completely mocks and disrespects their cultural roots. So it's really no wonder that Shadows and Ubisoft in general ran away from TGS, considering how badly this is all going for them. But the fact that they're using what is easily the most traumatic catastrophe in Japanese culture with the atom bombing, and then using that as a prop for their woke agenda here, that is insane, dude. If they are delaying the game, I truly hope that they do fix all of these wrongs, all the architecture, flooring, the Chinese settlements that make no sense being there in the first place, all of it. But if they are doing this, they also need to fix more than that, which means I probably think they won't do any of this, let's be real. Because number one is they gotta give Naoe a male variant form for players to play as, but this will likely not happen, which is why I think Shadows will bomb no matter what. If they had the resources, I would tell them to honestly gut the game entirely. Remove Yasuke completely and turn the game into a solo character adventure whose gender could be swapped like previous games. But we know they won't do this. After all, apparently the game also has same-sex romances for both characters too. Which, by the way, that makes zero sense, because if Yasuke was a real person as they claim, this is even more of a terrible overstepping on Ubisoft's part too. Because now they're not only disrespecting Japanese culture with all the things I already said, but now they're enforcing same-sex relationships on someone who apparently existed in the real world. This would be like making a biography about the band Iron Maiden. God, I love Iron Maiden. But anyway, imagine they make a movie out of them. But randomly, they just start putting in the movie, actually, they were all gay, and they never got married or had kids. Like, what are you doing? Why are you pushing things that never happened onto real people? Of course, if they admit that Yasuke wasn't real in the first place, well, then they can do whatever they want. But they won't do that because admitting that Yasuke wasn't a samurai would also be admitting defeat. So by delaying the game or not, nothing will really save this game. It's too far down the identity political agenda hole as it is. What Ubisoft has done here with Shadows is the epitome of just sending a game out to die. If Ubisoft were to fall to ruin completely and announce bankruptcy and start a fire sale on their assets, this would be one of the craziest things in gaming considering how Ubisoft was patient zero for the creation of companies like Sweet Baby Inc. I mean, the founders of SBI, they literally met each other at Ubisoft when they worked there. But this is the mark, the stink of the Sweet Baby, and Shadows is so cooked, it's beyond well done at this point. It's congratulations in terms of how burnt and inedible this gaming steak has become. Sure, some games at least have the groundwork so they can still bounce back like Helldivers, but unfortunately for Shadows, the DEI, man, it just runs too deep. The pandering is too baked into the experience. I genuinely think that we're about to see the worst release in Ubisoft history. They wouldn't be running with their tails between their bing bongs and canceling all appointments if things were actually going well. It's amazing though that they did the one-legged Torii Gate thing, because that's amazing. Ubisoft, you just keep finding new forms to sing to, man. It's incredible to see. Then we have this other consultant who got a lot of heat on social media for their game that's called Windstorm. I don't even know if I can show you actual footage of this game. I mean, there's not much to show you, to be real with you. It's a game set in Mongolia where you are a courier who just rides a horse and delivers letters. The game has no combat, nothing else. You just ride your horse, breed horses, and deliver stuff apparently. A lot of people gave this Alice Rupert lady a lot of flack. They started by saying, "We're making a game where you play a courier rider in 13th century Mongolia. No combat, just you, the horses you've tamed, bred, and trained, and the vast wilderness. Would you play this?" Then one user replied, "I would love to, as long as it can avoid woke DEI nonsense, which appears unlikely as you have pronouns in your bio." Alice would then reply with, "For every comment like this, I will add one extra pronoun to the game." And there it is. Yeah, as you can imagine, that comment, well, it kind of broke the camel, or I guess horse's back in this case, with a lot of people chiming in then saying that this is just going to be another game that panders to no one then fails. As Grums pointed out in this Alice Rupert's personal website, they're a consultant who specializes in social progress and diversity. But they also heavily specialize in horses, which, I mean, she's also a white woman who loves horses. I mean, come on, guys. The jokes kind of write themselves there. But anyway, this is just Sweet Baby nonsense, but on a very smaller level. One user replied to her adding extra pronouns comment with, "Then have fun failing to the fate of Concord, Dustborn, etc. Games don't want LGBT race communism. I mean, those games have been failing, yeah." And then a few others chimed in by saying as well, "Looking forward to the inevitable What Went Wrong video and the heart-filled message to all of our fans." And another said, "Don't like it, don't play it, then nobody plays it. Yeah, no thanks, I'm good." This Alice consultant did try to act like their post was a big gotcha, but I'll just be straight up, ain't nobody gonna be buying a game with zero combat where you just ride a horse and deliver letters. At least Death Stranding had terrain factor into the deliveries. If you want some great games where you can ride a horse, just go play Darksiders 1 and 2, because they're awesome. I really am sick of these slop DEI checklist games, and whoever paid Alice any money to consult on their game, you likely got robbed for both your time and your money. I hope they add all the pronouns, and then we will see who really ends up buying it. Spoilers, it'll be nobody. Finally, I want to end with a presentation that was presented by a Sweet Baby Inc. employee named Cameron Wild. Kirsch reacted to this content. If you don't know who she is, she's a VTuber who regularly speaks on various gaming topics as well. This Sweet Baby presentation that their own employee hosted was named, and no, I'm not kidding, it's actually named this, How to Get Away with Murder, Subverting Game Expectations. Here's a clip of Kirsch reacting to it. Please watch.
If you're going into a game trying to make it more representational content instead of just making a good game first and foremost, your game is not going to be good. Like, I genuinely don't understand this mindset, right? Like, I mean, I do, right? Because their most important thing is pushing their cultural revolution, even though they're going to lie to you and call you crazy for pointing it out. Brooks made sure the jokes came at the expense of whiteness and chipped away at an absurd social hierarchy. It isn't respectful, it's offensive, but it offends the right people. I think that last sentence is very telling. You're allowed to be offensive as long as it's towards the right people.
The final piece, maybe the biggest failing of Django Unchained as a genre film, is power. And I'll get to the lesson early, because good genre must consider its relationship to power. That is true of horror, science fiction.
Tarantino hasn't earned the right to laugh. Earned the right to laugh? What the actual f*** am I reading? These people are lunatics!
Genre is incompatible with the death of the author. In Tarantino's case, the man seems to thrive on people hating him, and so I don't hate him. But I do think his work needs to be critiqued out of existence, and that
I don't hate him. I just think his work needs to be critiqued out of existence. Might I remind you, Chad, the beginning of his slides said that one of his goals was to burn the game industry to the ground.
And as you just saw, they're still trying as a company to ensure that diversity and pandering is going to be the ride or die for gaming no matter what in the future. Sweet Baby really wants to take the power of creating things out of the hands of white creators because they don't like that white people make things, and therefore all white people should be categorically summarized as hateful bigots apparently. Mind you, one of Sweet Baby's co-founders is David Bedard, and he is, and you guessed it, a white man himself. When I say these sorts of groups hate you, I really mean it. They really do want to tear down the gaming world and turn it to fit their own bizarre twisted version that they perceive of the world. I'm grateful some parts of the industry are blacklisting these individuals, because only then can we return to some semblance of normalcy if we do so. But allowing their rot to fester will do nothing but make everything worse for us as players, designers, and investors in the future. And it's like I said, the fact they named this clip "Getting Away with Murder," like, you can't be serious, guys. They know that what they're doing is wrong, yet even then they still don't care. I guess if they aren't allowed to get away with what they want, they'll just call you bigots, or they'll run away from game shows like Ubisoft did. The industry must continue to distance themselves from these people like Square Enix allegedly has, and we need to return the industry to some form that actually values the player's insights and wants their money, instead of releasing slop that plays horrible and looks even worse. The curse of the Sweet Baby remains, but it's scared, it's afraid, and it's getting really desperate. I'll keep exposing them, fellas, because I won't stop till we fix this industry for good. Thank you for watching, subscribe, and such. Thanks to my supporters, and have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.